Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Yes Bank Limited Q4 FY21 and financial year 21 earnings conference call. Today we have with us the senior leadership team of the bank led by Mr. Prashant Kumar, MD and CEO, Yes Bank, Mr. Niranjan Banodkar, Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Anita Pai, Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Rajan Petal, Global Head Retail Banking, and Mr. Ashish Agarwal, Global Head Wholesale Banking. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Prashant Kumar. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Very good evening, and thank you everyone for joining the Yes Bank FY21 earnings call. Before we get started, I hope you and your families are safe and well. It is also important to take a moment and express our gratitude to all the frontline COVID warriors who are tirelessly working for the betterment of the people amidst the resurgence of COVID-19 cases in the country. I am having the top leadership team of the bank with me. This is the first full year result after the reconstruction of the bank and the moratorium imposed in March 2020. During the COVID pandemic, the bank had to solve for liquidity, capital, stress asset resolution, rebuilding the operating metrics, governance and risk culture. Most importantly, this has to be achieved while concurrently rebuilding trust with all our stakeholders. The biggest strength was our valuable customers who stood by us throughout this new journey of the bank. I would also like to thank more than 21,000 motivated employees, guidance and stewardship of the board of directors, strong support from the regulators, State Bank of India, and other investors. Now, given this backdrop, we have completed FY21 with a strong resurgence on the below metrics. On the liability side, we have been able to grow deposit franchise by 55% to 1.63 lakh crores. We also successfully raised 15,000 crores of capital via FPO in July 2020. We have made a cash recovery of 4,933 crores during FY21 from our stress asset pool. Our operating profit, we have seen a very healthy growth of 42% YOY on the back of net interest income increase and reduction in operating expenses. Cost to income ratio has come down from 66% to 54%. The significantly stronger and robust governance model which changes across organization, processes and the business strategy. We have also concurrently worked towards granularizing the balance sheet, and in FY21 we have demonstrated this with an advanced mix of retail and MSME at 51%, which is 700 basis points up from the last year. In fact, we have seen the 12,000 crore of disbursement in the fourth quarter, and this has been the highest ever for the bank. Having said this, we also continue to support our corporate business with a focus towards granular and transactional working capital loans. Now, coming on to the asset quality, we believe that December has been the peak with March outcome showing improvement in the outcome. Net NPAs, NPIs and other labeled exposures together has come down 20% quarter on quarter, and overall coverage has improved from 68% to 75%. And further, aggregated pool of 61 to 90 days and 31 to 60 days are sequentially lower. Going forward in FY22, we expect to grow our loans by 15%, with continuing momentum on retail and SME and resuming growth in wholesale banking. We would also like to support this growth through a faster growth in granular and stable deposits towards achieving a CD ratio which would be lower than 100% and CASA ratio of more than 30%. Importantly, in FY22, a combination of operating profits on the back of expanding margins and continued focus on cost effectiveness, efficiencies, and a minimum cash recovery of 5,000 crores would lead the growth aspiration of the bank while ensuring sufficiency in capital buffer. And just to remind you that we also have a capital buffer of 280 basis points sitting in our deferred tax assets. We have put out a comprehensive presentation which showcases our business objectives and strategy in detail, including initiatives we have undertaken in the digital and technology space, which we believe will further propel the bank to meet its objective. I'll give you some of the headlines on some of the key operating performances. We have ended the year with a 42% YOY growth in operating profit to 4,977 crores on the back of healthy earnings trend across net interest income, which is 9% YOY growth and decreasing in the operating cost. Our Q4 FY21 operating profits have been only 185 crores, and this is mainly on account of interest reversal and accelerated provisions due to COVID after the verdict from the Supreme Court has come in terms of recognition of the entire standstill NPAs. Our deposit book has been granularizing at a fast pace. Our CASA and retail term deposit has grown by 40% YOY and now it's 94,000 crores. And our total deposit book is 1.63 lakh crores, which has shown a 55% YOY growth. Retail asset has grown by 23% YOY, and which is touching almost 50,000 crores. And the share of retail asset to total advances as of now is 30% from 24% at the end of FY20. Additionally, fee income has also grown steadily by increasing, deepening deposit relationship with our customers, growth in retail assets, and a strong transaction banking franchise. In fact, the core fee income has grown by 22% quarter on quarter, and our retail banking fee has also grown by 21% YOY and has recorded the highest ever quarterly performance. We have seen an absolute operating cost reduction of 14% and a 12% reduction in cost to income ratio for FY21. And this has been driven by a structural improvement in productivity and operating efficiencies. The gross NPA percentage has reduced annually by 140 basis points to 15.4% for the year FY21, and our net NPA stand at 5.9% with a PCR of 79%. Our GNPA book, or what we call our legacy stress book, is now well provided and has also demonstrated a robust cash recovery of 4,933 crore in FY21. Our overdue book between 31 to 90 days has reduced by 28% over the last quarter. We believe that both our asset quality and asset quality recognition has peaked in, and our recovery income will cover for incremental slippage next year. Despite elevated slippages, the bank has prudently made accelerated provisioning, which reflects in the PCR for NPAs at 79% and PCR for NPI at 92%. And because of this strategy of making accelerated provisioning, there has been a net loss of 3,788 crores. And despite this, our capital and liquidity position has significantly improved. The CET ratio has remained healthy at 11.2% despite the accelerated provisioning. CD ratio at 102% as compared to 163% in FY20. Our average LCR during the last quarter was 114%, and we ended the year with a LCR of 122%. Now, if we see our asset quality, our GNPA as on March 21 is 28,610 crore as compared to 37,869 crore in December 20. And in December 20, when we talk of say 37,869, that was including a standstill NPAs of 8,322 crores. Our incremental slippage in FY21 is 12,305 crores. And additionally, the other exposures which are from NPIs and ARC loan, etc., they stand at 12,852 crores as compared to 12,755 in December 20. In summary, our PCR has improved from 68% to 75% on the total leverage exposure for this quarter, and for the full year, our reported GNPA now stand at 15.4 and net NPA at 5.9. As a result of this, our net exposure now stand at 14,903 crores as compared to 18,613 crores in the previous quarter, and which is a reduction of 20%. Our overdue book, if you see 61 to 90 days, is 4,661 crores and it has come down from 6,537 in December 20. Our 31 to 60 day book is at 9,000 crores and has come down from 12,316 crores. Now 47% of our 61 to 90 days book, which is 2,200 crores, is in the implementation stage of COVID-related restructuring, and which we expect to complete in the first quarter. On the recovery side, our specialized recovery team of more than 100 professionals have demonstrated significant track record of recovery, amounting to 4,933 crores. And this recovery has been granular, comprising more than 100 large and small accounts. We also expect to have a cash recovery of at least 5,000 crores in FY22 as well. Our incremental slippage in FY21 of 12,500 crores is mainly from the corporate book and primarily comprises of sectors that have been badly affected by COVID, like commercial real estate, hotels and hospitality, and public and social infrastructure. And we expect that these assets would bounce back as the economy would recover. So we believe that both our asset quality and recognition has peaked, and now it's beginning to show sign of improvement. Some visibility on the deposits. So our deposits, as I have shared, is a 55% growth, and our CASA deposits have grown at 12% quarter on quarter. And our CASA ratio is now at 26.1%. The most important thing is our new customer acquisition, which has increased significantly. We have acquired new CASA customer 6.6 lakhs as compared to 6 lakhs in FY20. Our retail deposit book continues to stay granular. In the next 3 years, we continue to stay focused on doubling the deposit book and increasing the customer base to almost 3x. We also aim to improve our CASA ratio to 40% and double the cross-sell ratio. Retail and SME advances have seen a strong growth. Retail disbursement at a lifetime high of 7,530 crores and SME disbursement of 4,612 crores. On the SME, we would be continuously focusing this, and we have also seen a strong growth on the credit card franchise also, and the book size has grown by 42% YOY to 1,451 crores. Rural and inclusive business has also grown up, and in the next 3 years, we plan to double the retail asset book to 1 lakh crore by FY24, and which would be driven by a combination of internal sourcing, especially increasing the locations into Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, and also with the help of the digital innovations. Our wholesale book witnessed a strong growth in the non-credit throughput during the year, which is almost 4x quarter-on-quarter, and 100% of the non-credit trade throughput and 93% of the transaction clients are back to the pre-moratorium levels. We continue to granularize the corporate lending book in high quality and opportunities segment, and systematically reducing our net advances exposure towards COVID stressed sectors. And looking ahead, we plan to grow transaction banking fee income faster rate than the corporate loan book. And while the overall corporate book has declined marginally due to our strategy for debulking and de-stressing, but we are also focusing on increasing the corporate book selectively and have disbursed more than 3,500 crores in Q4. We will continue to grow lending selectively in the high quality corporate space and support our clients. We continue to command a leadership positions in our payment space. In fact, our share of UPI transaction has increased to 45% from 33% at the end of FY20. In the last 12 months, the bank has strengthened the technology and data resilience significantly. We transact over 1 billion UPI transactions monthly. We have also built several industry lending solutions. We pioneered the API banking platform that has currently scaled up to more than 400 APIs and integrated with more than 3,000 partners. We have also launched the Yes Connect, a bouquet of standalone and integrated B2B finance solution with more than 10 partners. We have significantly ramped up our advanced analytics capabilities during the last 12 months and are generating value. We have set up a centralized data analytics and governance team and led by a newly appointed Chief Data and Analytics Officer who is driving more than 15 use cases and multiple models across personalization, risk and cross-sell. And we have also seen more than 3.5 lakh customers to be cross-sold via these triggers. On the cost management side, we would continue to work on the reduction on the cost side, which would be mostly on the non-employee side. On the people side, it's a very, very challenging time, but we have realigned our compensation and HR process. And we have already completed the appraisal process for FY21, which includes issuing the increment letter for more than 20,000 employees in the first week of April itself. A significant proportion of our senior management compensation has now been made variable and linked to the long-term performance of the bank. We have also moved towards a work from anywhere regime, which will not only provide improved flexibility and support during these trying times, but I think it would also help us in bringing more cost efficiencies going forward. We are supporting our employees during these trying times. on multiple fronts, including free vaccination, webinar session with medical professionals for both employees and customers, and also arrangement for the RT-PCR test, and also in terms of providing the best medical facilities to our staff. We have also taken number of measures in terms of improving the governance, and this is coming out of our learnings from the past. I would just recap our priorities for FY22. In order to achieve our medium-term objective, which is a retail MSME mix of more than 60%, CASA ratio of 40% plus, and a ROA target of 1 to 1.5%. Our FY22 aspirations, I would just again recapitulate, focus on advances growth while continue to improve on granularity. So we are targeting a 20% growth in retail. We would also be resuming growth on the corporate side and would be targeting it at 10% growth. The deposit to grow faster than loans, and CD ratio would come down below 100%, and the CASA ratio would be more than 30%. And we are absolutely on the trajectory to reach a ROA of 1% by FY23, and FY22 would see ourselves on the ROA trajectory in that roadmap. I will stop here and wish you all the very good health and have a safe and prosperous FY22. And now we can open the floor for your questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking the question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Mahrukh Adajania from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Sir, last quarter you had talked about a possible equity issuance. So if that's still on the cards, then what will be SBI's role in that? Any soft or hard commitments? And what are the plans on any new equity issuance?
So as of now, our CET is 11.2, which is having a 300 basis point comfort over the regulatory requirement. In the FY22, our recoveries would take care of our credit cost. So any capital consumption would be only for the growth purpose. And the way we are targeting a growth of 15% on our loan book, our capital would meet that requirement, keeping it more than the regulatory requirement. But during the year, because the year would be very tricky because of the current situation, if we come across a higher growth opportunity, then we would definitely examine this part, because we would not like to leave the growth opportunity for shortage of capital. So as of now, I think we are well on the capital.
Got it. So, if you could just remind me on, what is the agreement with SBI on fresh capital raise? As in, would they participate, or it's just going to be a general open market issue, or if there is one for growth?
So one part is, so it's not about reminding you, just if you go back and if you see the reconstruction scheme of the bank, SBI is supposed to keep a minimum 26% capital for next 3 years, which is up to FY24. Okay, that is as per the reconstruction scheme. But what I was sharing with you, as of now, we don't see any need to raise capital. Okay, but going forward, if there will be any requirement for growth purpose, at that point of time, we would evaluate that.
Sure, sir. Thanks. Sir, and one more question is on the stress. So, even excluding your restructuring, the stress book is still high, and given that we are in the second wave, what is the early assessment on the second wave? So even with the second wave, you are expecting recoveries to exceed slippages?
Yeah. So first, in terms of impact of second wave, too early to make a comment. But we are absolutely confident that recoveries would be more than the slippage. And we have done a very, very detailed analysis of our book, which is in the overdue position.
Got it. So, can you throw some more color on recoveries? I mean, not account-wise, but, maybe sector-wise or any one or two lumpy accounts or any such thing? Or what is being resolved under NCLT or, any such color?
So this cash recovery of 4,933 crore, this is over more than 100 customers, and this is across different segments. Okay. So I think on our entire book, first year, we have already started engaging, and results would start showing in much better way during the current financial year.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Suresh Ganapathy from Macquarie. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. First is just trying to reconcile certain numbers. So your total gross labeled exposure is 41,000 crores, on which you have provided 26,000 crores. So that's around 64% coverage, right? So that's on a reported basis. On top of that, you have about 13,000 crores of overdue book, on which you may carry about 230 crores of provision, considering the kind of overlap you have with the restructuring book, and you have made 10%. Am I right? On that 13,000 crores, you carry 230 crores?
Yeah. So on that pool, yes, we have a 2,200 likely implementation exposure, on which we are carrying a 10%.
Yeah. So there is, Niranjan, nothing over and above this 220 crores which you carry on the 13,000 crores book. No COVID, no contingent, nothing like that, right?
So we have not made any contingent provision on this overdue book because of two reasons. First, on our book which has been recognized as NPA, we have already made a very aggressive provisioning, and our provision coverage is 79% on that book. So we had two options. One option was to make a minimum regulatory provision on the existing book, and also make some prudent provision on the overdue book. But we have taken a call to make an accelerated provision on the existing book, so that going forward, the credit cost on account of this book would not be impacting the earnings during the FY22.
Okay. So I just want to deliberate on the earlier question, because, we of course know the second wave is very unpredictable. And, some of the best banks in the system, large banks, don't have an SMA book of more than 1%. And still they are struggling to reach 1.5% ROA. You have an SMA book of 8% and you are still guiding a 1 to 1.5% ROA. And with such a massive second wave going on, how confident you are that you can reach such kind of levels? Because you're really talking about the best in class ROA for a banking system. Are you really confident that you can meet this? And also, if you can tell how has been the April SMA book. I mean, you would have some color, right? Whether this 13,000 crores have moved or not upwards because of the current stress that we are seeing. Thank you.
So first part, our guidance on ROA of 1 to 1.5% is not for FY22. I think this is a medium-term guidance, and definitely our guidance of 1% ROA for FY23 is absolutely intact. And despite COVID, I think what we have projected in the early 2020 financial year, we are absolutely on track of that. So that is one part.
Okay.
Second thing, if you see the 13,000 crore of book which is in the overdue, so out of 13,000, almost 2,200 is already identified for restructuring. Okay, you can take that part out. Almost 2,000 crores have already become zero DPD, We have analyzed the entire book account by account, and these accounts used to be in overdue position always, traditionally. So we are not seeing any risk in terms of their slippage. But Suresh, what you are saying in terms of second wave or maybe going forward, we really can't comment in terms of what would be the COVID impact going forward. So this is something which is uncertain, but as of now, we are quite confident.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Suresh, if I can also add
Sure, Niranjan.
one more point. I mean, if I look at, let's say, the 61 to 90 days, and if I just remove the 2,200 of the restructuring, we are left with about 2,400 crores of exposure. And as Shankar said, there has been some regularization as well. But let's stick to that 24. That's about a 1.4, 1.5% of SMA2. Which has reduced. I mean, I'm just saying is if you look at the full construct of the entire gross label, you add everything together, there is actually a reduction from a sequential basis and increase in the coverage, right? And a 1.4, 1.5% is, it's not an outlier number from an SMA2 performance and not necessarily reflective of a stress that will definitely precipitate.
Okay, thanks, Niranjan.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ruhi from Reliance Nippon. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask the question. So my question is basically there were a couple of court cases post the reconstruction of the bank happened last year. So at present, what would be the status of those cases, and will there be any liability on the bank which they would have to bear because of these court cases? Thank you.
So I am aware of only one type of court cases. Court cases are several, but it is only related to 81 law. Okay.
Right.
And I think in Madras High Court, a decision was taken in terms of whether they have uphold the decision of the bank in terms of writing down the 81. Okay. But there are cases which are pending in different cases. So as of now, there is no such claim on us that we don't see any liability of the bank as of now. But since matter is sub judice, we would not like to make any other call.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Piyush, a retail shareholder. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, sir.
Yeah,
So actually, I am holding the share, in fact, lots of share from last 3-4 years. But as a retail shareholder, I am not getting the value as of now. After the change of management also, I am not getting the value. So what can I expect going forward? Whether I should get the value or no?
So one thing we can always assure you that from the bank side, we are continuously strengthening the balance sheet. Okay. Because if you see the entire existing book, a provision coverage of 79% and on the investment side, it's 92% provision coverage, is very, very healthy part of the balance sheet. And if you see, we are growing on both retail deposit side and also on the loan side. And our operating profits have grown up by 42%. So issue is only in terms of timing. So I think I can assure you from the bank, we are continuously improving on the business front. We are continuously cleaning the balance sheet. And this is the only thing I can say, assure you or share you. How
That's fine.
into the share market, very, very difficult to.
That's fine, sir. But as a retail shareholder, I have lost everything. Actually, my age is now 28, but I have lost everything in Yes Bank, sir. So that's why I'm worrying and I am talking like this.
No, I absolutely share your concern. But I think I would request you to see from a perspective when bank was about to close down and the kind of progress which bank has made in a period of 1 year.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask the question. The next question is from the line of Jay Mundra from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for the detailed disclosures. Sir, on slide number 6, wherein you have given the overview book, this 4,600 and 9,000 crore, is this the, the credit reporting, or this is the entire bank book?
This is the entire bank book.
Sure, sir. And second question is on slippages, sir. Out of this 12,000 crore, barring 15%, 14%, which is retail and granular, 85% seems to be from corporate sector. Now, if we hear the commentary from other banks, wherein the corporate slippages have been very, very negligible for them, it looks like that the corporate slippages that you have are mainly particular to Yes Bank. Is that the way, or your slippages also are at system level? I'm just trying to reconcile, because other banks, other frontline large private banks, they have not shown any corporate slippages.
So our slippage is mostly related to those industries who have been severely impacted because of the COVID. So like the hospitality part, real estate, okay, anything which is related to tours and travel, okay. So any industry which has been deeply impacted because of the COVID, our slippage is mostly related to that.
Right. And you would be the sole banker, right, to these corporates. That is how, that will explain the, let's say, slightly more hit to Yes Bank. Is that right, or not necessarily?
So it's a mix. In some of those assets, we are the sole banker. In some of the assets, we are participating with other banks.
Sure, sir. I'll come back in with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mahesh MB from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Hey, hi. Just a few questions from my side. One is, when you see the recoveries that you're putting out there, about 2,500 crores, is it still kind of going at the provisioning levels that is done, or you think that it is underprovided, or you've had to make more provisions on it?
You are talking on the restructured book?
No, the resolutions that you're doing today, is the provisioning that you've done so far on those accounts, is it holding up, or you've had to make more provisions on it?
So, if you see our recoveries, we have been able to have the 50%, almost 50 to 60% recovery. And wherever provision coverage is 79%. So our belief is that in all the accounts, our provision coverage is more than the LGD.
And on the 28,610 crores of gross NPAs which is sitting, you think that you have to make provisions for FY22?
So I think what we have done, we have taken care of all the aging securities, all those things. So as of now, we don't believe that we would be required to make any provision on the existing.
So you can go with FY22 with no provision on this book?
So this has been our strategy, not to carry any burden of the existing book for the new year.
Perfect. And one question, March tends to be typically a reasonably better quarter for most banks on 60 to 90 and 30 to 60 days book. You think this number has also peaked out here, or you think that when we get into, let's say, first half, this number goes back to a higher number?
So I think as of now, because if you see last 10 to 15 days, this was something nobody was expecting, okay? And let's see what would be the impact of this. Then we would be more, say, clear about the whole thing.
Okay, so, sorry, one last question from my side. You think you've reached a point wherein you can further cut down your retail deposit rate? Because the extent of divergence which is sitting there with the larger banks is high and expected to be so. You think you've reached a point where you can cut it a little bit further and see if you can move the margins up?
So we are continuously reducing rate of interest on our term deposits. It's a continuous process. So I think we have also taken a decision in the last cycle to cut the deposit rate by further 25 basis. So this is a continuous journey which we are there.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Akriti Kakkar from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. This is Rahul here. I hope you all are staying safe, your family and friends, etc. I've got a couple of questions here. Number one is on the slippage reconciliation. So basically 11,800 crores that we've got, the standstill last quarter was 8,300 odd something. So the additional, slippages that have come through in this quarter, part of it is explained by retail, but the other part is what? Coming from the SMA portfolio, SMA2 portfolio?
Yes, mostly.
Okay. Got it. The second is, sir, can you just, talk us through about the write-off policy that you're pursuing? Because, we've written off quite a bit in this quarter. When the recoveries are also happening at the same time, can you just help us understand how do we think about these write-offs? Is it for the tax purposes or it is for the lack of certainty about the recoveries?
So it is more from the balance sheet management. It's not about lack of, recovery, prognosis. So I think recovery on these technical return of accounts would also be similar to the recoveries which is happening in the other assets. It's more about the balance sheet management.
Okay. And we will pursue this strategy even in the next year. Is that a fair interpretation?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And sir, in the previous question, you said the recoveries or the haircuts are about 50%, but you're carrying 70-75% of provisions. So does it mean that when we start to kind of see a cycle where slippages go down, we would start possibly having some recoveries also, the write backs from the excess provisions?
Absolutely. If you see out of almost 5,000 crores of cash recovery, the positive impact on the P&L and the upgrade was to the extent of almost 3,000 crores.
Okay, and the book from which it has been recovered is about 10,000 odd crores.
So in both NPAs and NPIs from where the recoveries have been made, we have been able to resolve to the extent of almost 8,000 crores.
Oh, okay. Got it. That's helpful. Sir, one more question on this SMA2 portfolio, which came down from 6.5 to 4,500 crores, and equally the SMA1 portfolio. So there must have been some additions also that would have happened in the SMA2 portfolio, right? During this quarter. Can you share that number? How much would that have been in the last quarter?
So Rahul, there is a flow that happens into that book. There is a flow that moves out as they get regularized. But I think the way we can look at it is, if you look at the net exposure, and even if you were to add, let's say, the 61 to 90 and the 31 to 60, just conservatively add to that total pool. If you look at that total stock, that is sequentially moving lower. So that is not increasing, and that is why Prashant sir also said right at the start that we believe December was the peak, and both from the total pool as well as the provisioning coverage on that pool, both have improved sequentially.
So let me ask another way. So the reduction that we have seen from, let's say, 19,000 to 13,000 crores, some of it, of course, has slipped into NPA, but the other would have been repaid, back to us, where we would have reduced exposure, etc. Or I'm just trying to understand the drift of it, let's say, getting into next year because of, as everybody has been asking about the second wave. I mean, what could be the flow through that we can see into these numbers?
So, see, the guidance that we have already put out in the presentation is to say the recoveries that we will look at for next year should outpace the slippage that we will have. And look, slippage can happen from the overdue book. Sometimes it is also from outside. But when we look at the full book, we don't expect the slippage to actually exceed the recovery. So, from a total addition to this book, we are not expecting anything. On the contrary, we should start seeing a reduction in this absolute book for fiscal 22.
Understood. That's useful. Just one last question. So, the RBI didn't perhaps allow us, as per the media reports, to float a bad bank kind of entity. What other alternate do we have before us, wherein we can resolve all these written-off accounts, the stress book, etc., of 26,000 crores, in a different and expedited manner over the next 12 to 18 months or 24 months or whatever?
So I think we would be able to continuously resolve this within the bank. Okay. But only thing is that option is still live, and we would be waiting for more clarification to come from regulator after the report of the expert committee which they have made would come out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that option is still open. We're just waiting for the committee report.
Right.
And if that sector opens up, then this is still a possibility before us.
Absolutely.
Understood. All right. That's very useful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rahul.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Soumya Agarwal from Smart Karma. Please go ahead. Soumya Agarwal, may I request you to unmute your line from your side and go ahead with your question?
Yeah, hi, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah. So, sir, while I understand your legacy corporate book has been a pain point for quite some time now, and you are looking at alternatives to resolve it. On the retail front, since you are targeting to grow this book, retail and SME, to be the dominant segment from here on, what exactly is your assessment of the on-the-ground situation? Because if I look at some of the larger private sector banks, most of them are growing slow on this segment. So what is your assessment of the retail book as of now amid the pandemic?
So we have been very selective in terms of identification of the customers and also in terms of the product. So if you see our unsecured proportion in the retail asset is lower as compared to the other market players. Okay. So we would continue to be selective in terms of identifying the better quality customers in this. Advantage to us is that our base is small, just 50,000 crore, and we can choose to grow with a good growth number, but with the quality also.
Okay, sure. And just one more question, following up on the bad bank angle. Suppose there should, some kind of an arrangement be reached between Yes Bank and RBI to set up a bad bank. How exactly will you be treating the legacy assets? Would the entire book get transferred to the bad bank and just clean up your balance sheet at one go, albeit with some haircut? How exactly does the structure work?
So I think we would love to do that, but we need to wait for the clarity which would come from the regulator on the entire framework related to ARS.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shri Karthik from Investec. Please go ahead.
Thank you. 3 questions from my side. The first one is, last quarter you highlighted about 8,000 crores of possible restructuring. What has happened to those accounts? That is one. Second, if you could break up the SMA 1 between corporate and non-corporate. And the last one is, how a quarterly PPOP run rate. At what level do you think you'll stabilize from next quarter onwards? Thank you.
Look, Karthik, first on the restructuring book, I think our restructuring book has come down to 2,500 crore because most of the other accounts, they have paid the overdue and there is no requirement for any restructuring. And Niranjan, you can share the other part.
It is predominantly on the corporate side.
So no anything
on the quarterly PPOP.
No, SMA 1 between corporate and non-corporate.
I will, 1 second. Very quickly let you know, it is Karthik, I'll have to come back to the specific number.
Maybe you may share something.
Yeah.
Okay. And on the PPOP?
So it is about 80%, 85% is corporate, the rest is between medium, SME and retail on the SME one.
Okay, thanks.
On the PPOP, Karthik, if you just look at, let's say, what we have delivered for fiscal 21. So we've delivered basically a total income of about 10,700 crores, and this does take into account the fact that we've had slippages, so reversals are also completely baked into this. So just from a run rate of a normalized PPOP, there's about 1,000 crores of interest recovery that we've had. So that's about 6,400 crores of let's say core PPOP, core interest that we will have. That will translate to about 1,600 crores of NII, and I'm just looking at, let's say, the average delivery across the 4 quarters. We've had about 3,300 crores of fees for this year. Again, we have about 1,000 crores of gain on sale of investments. Again, I'm keeping that aside for the time being. That takes about 2,400 crores of core non-interest income. So 1,600 crores of NII, about 600 crores of fees that we're looking at the core level. That's about 2,000 crores of total revenues. Again, operating expense, if you use the same lens, that's about 1,500 crores of operating expense that we will look at. And if I were to kind of add all of this, we are at a very core level. We are looking at about 600 to 700 crores of operating profit, and I'm just saying as a base case. We can start adding back, because there will be some gain on investments that will typically happen in the normal course. That can be about anywhere between, let's say, 200 to 50 crores on a quarterly basis. And of course, given the fact that we are also looking at a large cash recovery from the NPA pool, we are also expecting some recoveries that will come through from the interest side, right? So if I start adding some of these, we could. I mean, there could be some noise in the quarterly, but we could be looking at an average PPOP anywhere between 1,000 to 1,200 crores. And this is without the growth.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take the last question from the line of Rakesh Kumar from Systematics Group. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
So just one small question. We have a margin reported for this quarter at around 160 basis, and now we have total net exposure of 14,900 crore. If I just take this number, this is coming close to around 9.4% of the standard asset. So how do we see the margin going ahead from here?
So again, if you look at, I think a good starting point actually is the fiscal 21, because fiscal 21 does take into account the non-accrual that we would have had on the stress pool, and that is about 2.8%. Of course, this does include some element of interest recoveries that we would have had from the NPA pool. But margin structure for us clearly at this point in time is a function of improving CASA. We will continue to keep recovering from our NPAs, so any collections that flow into NPAs will add to the interest income. But at a very core level, it's the cost of funding that we want to drive very emphatically. In fact, in an earlier question, we did speak about how we are reducing our both term deposit rates and savings account rates to kind of play into the margin. So both a function of reducing rates and improving mix of CASA is what will add to our margins. And we believe that you can keep adding about 25 to 30 basis points of core margins on an annualized basis.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.